My name is Jane Harrington, and if I close my eyes for just a moment, I can still see my 5-year-old self, running around our small backyard, barefoot, laughing, and pretending that the world was mine to explore. I didn't know much about life back then, but I did know one thing. I was happy. Truly, effortlessly happy. I was 5 when I first realized that I could take care of myself. Not in the grown-up way, of course, but in the little, funny ways a child understands. I learned how to tie my shoelaces, well, at least one shoe properly and the other one in a very creative knot. I learned how to pour milk into my cereal bowl without spilling it everywhere, though sometimes I still made tiny lakes on the table. And I learned how to braid my own hair, even if it always looked slightly tilted to one side. Our house wasn't huge, but it was filled with sunshine. My mother used to say, "Jane, you bring the light with you," and I believed her. At that age, I believed every compliment, every magical story, every possibility. I believed in fairies, in good luck, and in the idea that every morning was a new adventure. Every day after breakfast, I had a little ritual. I would stand in front of the mirror, place my hands on my waist, tilt my head, and say, "Jane Harrington is ready for the world." I had no idea what that meant, but it made me feel important, like a tiny heroine in my own tiny world. School for me was nothing but excitement. I loved the smell of new crayons, the sound of little chairs dragging across the floor, and the feeling of opening a fresh notebook. My teachers used to smile at my endless questions. I wanted to know how clouds float, why birds never fall when they fly, and why our shadows disappear at night. I think half of my teachers were tired of answering, but they never told me to stop asking. My best friend at that time was a girl named Lucy. She lived 2 houses down, had curly brown hair, and always wore shoes that squeaked when she walked. We used to pretend that the sidewalk was a magical train track and every chalk line we drew took us to a different imaginary country. We would sit under the big oak tree after school and make crowns out of grass, pretending we were queens of a secret kingdom. Life was simple. Beautifully, magically simple. One of my favorite memories from that age happened on a sunny Sunday morning. I woke up before everyone else, tiptoed into the kitchen, grabbed a cup, filled it with what I proudly thought was orange juice, and walked out into the backyard. Later, I learned it was actually my father's sports drink, but 5-year-old Jane didn't know the difference. I sat on the grass, looked at the bright sky, and said out loud, "One day, I'm going to tell my story to the whole world." I don't remember why I said it, maybe because I had seen a girl on TV talking about her dreams. Or maybe because even at that age something inside me believed my life would be worth sharing. At 6, I became a big girl, or at least that's what I told everyone on my birthday. I felt older, wiser, even though nothing had changed except the number on my cake. I learned to ride a bicycle, and I still remember my father running behind me, holding the back of the seat. When he finally let go, I didn't realize it. I kept pedaling, squealing with joy, thinking he was still supporting me. When I looked back and saw him laughing from a distance, I realized something important. Sometimes in life, you think someone is holding you, but actually, you're doing it all on your own. That lesson stayed with me far longer than I knew. By the time I turned 7, I had developed a habit of collecting little treasures, buttons, shiny rocks, feathers, and colorful ribbons. I kept them in a wooden box under my bed. I believed those things had stories of their own. I guess I was always meant to love stories. Every evening, my mother would sit with me on the living room rug and help me read simple books. She didn't push me, she simply made reading feel like magic. And each night I would imagine myself as the heroine of the story, rescuing castles, solving mysteries, or discovering new worlds. 8 years old brought even more adventures. I joined a small school play, standing on stage with a paper crown on my head and a wooden wand in my hand. I remember the lights were so bright I could barely see the audience. But I didn't feel scared. I felt alive. like this was where I belonged. And I guess, in a way, I was preparing for this moment without even knowing it. The moment I would one day share my story with the world again. This time not as a little girl pretending to be a queen, but as Jane Harrington, a woman who has lived, grown, learned, and remembered. Back then, though, I didn't think about the future. I was just living, laughing, learning, dreaming. And everything around me felt filled with endless possibilities. If someone had told 5-year-old Jane that one day she would sit down at the age of 65 and share her entire life on social media, she would have giggled, brushed her hair back, and said, "Well, of course I will. I have a very interesting life."